Hi, welcome to Music Tech. My name is Patrick Jordan. I'm the Music Tech teacher and also the Year 12 manager. So you may have seen me on one of the earlier videos with our principal, Ben Robinson. But today I'm here to talk about music technology, talk about the course, talk about the studio. We're sat in the studio right now. And really just to tell you how exciting a course Music Tech is. It's absolutely unbelievable. The student satisfaction on this course is through the roof. We consistently, every single year, get some of the best student satisfaction for this course. They absolutely love being on this course. So much so that students tend to spend a lot of their time outside of lessons in here, working on music, producing things, and just generally developing their skills. And I'll come on to that in a little bit later. In terms of who I am, as I've said, my name's Patrick. You will be being taught by someone who is doing this professionally. As well as being a Year 12 manager here, I also produce bands in my spare time. I'm currently working with bands out in Nashville, as well as working with local bands and national bands. I also, prior to working here, used to work at a recording studio called Psalm West, where I used to work with a producer called Trevor Horn. So I got to work with bands like Coldplay, the Stereophonics, Kylie, Sugar Babes. Some of these bands are now getting really old. Muse is another band that I've worked with. So I've got the actual hands-on experience working in recording studios with a very, very established artists to produce commercial products. And in a nutshell, that's what this course is about. This course is all about developing your skills as a studio engineer and producer in realizing the vision of an artist. Now, in this instance, the artist might actually be yourself, or it might be that actually you don't play any instruments, but that you're just very, very passionate about music, in which case we'll develop those skills for you as well. So to make that really clear, to come on the Music Tech course, you don't actually have to play an instrument. That isn't what this course is about. It's not music performance, nor is it music theory. This course is all about you taking the vision of an artist and then realizing that into a final product that can then be released on things like Spotify, Tidal, iTunes, YouTube, all of the different platforms that we obviously release music on. Now, in order to do that, we have got to show you how to use the recording studio. And the recording studio is a tool. That's what it is. It's something that needs to be learned, and then something that needs to be used and utilized in order to produce the best possible results. And the thing that I love the most about Music Tech is there is never just one solution. And one solution that you use might work with one artist, one band, but that same solution might not work for others. So to give you an example there, you might find that recording a band requires all of the band to be together in the room at once for it to get the best possible feel and vibe. But you might also find that another band doesn't work quite so well in that same format. So you might actually record the drums separately, then the bass, then overdub some vocals. In extreme examples, and this has happened commercially, it might be that members of the band are actually not good enough to perform on their own records. So it might be that as a producer, you then make the decision to hire session musicians to replace some of those parts. And there's many, many famous examples where that's happened. And this isn't a new phenomenon either. So, for example, the Beach Boys' Pet Sounds album, which is one of my favorite albums of all time, doesn't actually feature the Beach Boys playing on it. That is a lot of session musicians. It simply has the Beach Boys singing on it. And that was Brian Wilson, the producer, his move to ensure that the end product was the best possible product it could be, regardless of whether or not it was actually the Beach Boys playing their instruments on that album. So we'll be covering the technical side, and you do need to remember that this is music tech, music technology. You will focus on the technology side. You will learn how microphones work. You will learn which microphones are the best for each individual job. And most importantly, you will learn how to use a piece of software called Pro Tools. Pro Tools is the industry standard piece of recording software. You will find that software in every single studio around the world. It is absolutely the industry standard. It's also used in the film industry as well for overdubbing and for scoring. So it is a really essential part of the course that you get to learn that piece of software. And there aren't that many other institutions, certainly at college level, that are using Pro Tools. So we are relatively unique in the fact that at 16-year-old, you will be learning how to use the industry standard software. We will take you through studio practices. We will show you how to communicate effectively with artists, how to get the best possible performances out of them, because actually a lot of what we do in the studio is about coaxing the best possible performances from people, and that sometimes requires a certain element of psychology. It requires an understanding of what the artist is trying to achieve, and it requires very, very strong communication skills. So we'll be working with you to develop those. And the beauty is even if you don't actually do music tech after you finish the course and you go to do something else, you'll find that those communication skills really stand you in very good stead for any career that you actually choose to do. You'll also look at the business side of things on this course. So whereas this course is for the most part intensely practical, there are some modules in this course that are also focused on the business side of things, which means that the music tech course sits very nicely alongside business studies, for example, and media studies as another example. So we will cover the business side of things. So you will look at how to market and promote music that either you've created or that other artists have created, and how to get the best possible artist exposure to maximize streams, maximize sales, and really to make sure that that artist then becomes a success. You will also develop your listening skills on the course. Now, again, I'd like to stress this isn't a music course. So the requirement to have studied GCSE music for music tech is not there. You don't have to have done GCSE music to go on the course. It will help you a little bit for the listening skills session and for the listening skills assignments, but we will still develop those listening skills with you, and we will still develop that terminology with you. And it never really gets too complicated in terms of listening skills. What's important is that you can listen to a piece of music and pull apart the fundamental components of it so that you can understand the instruments that are being used, why they're being used, and then how the mix is created and why certain elements like reverb, for example, and compression and EQ are being used to construct that final product. So listening skills become very, very important, and that's one of the first things that you'll actually start to develop on the course. In terms of success, our course, no one's ever failed music tech here at Bede. No one has ever failed it. Now, I started the course here, founded the course approximately 13, 14 years ago. I've been at Bede nearly 17 years now. But I founded the course 12, 13 years ago. No one has ever failed music tech. And I will ensure that no one ever does fail music tech. That doesn't mean it's easy. So don't confuse those two. This is a course that requires a significant amount of hard work because there's a lot of practical skill development and a lot of practical work. But because it's enjoyable, you'll most often than not find that that is actually something that you're just enjoying doing. But in terms of the courses, everyone passes. And in terms of the grades that my students get on this course, they come out with very, very high grades, distinction stars. Last year, 80% of the students got distinction stars. And that's generally the trend. So the majority of students complete this course with the highest possible grade. In terms of destinations, our students then go on to do all sorts. So it's quite common, for example, for our students to then leave music tech and go into university to study music tech. And I would say approximately 50 to 60% of our students leave music. And then from university, our students then go into a wide variety of different fields. For example, we have students that are working in recording studios. We have students that are actually working for record labels. So Beggars Banquet, we have a student currently working for. Some students go into computer games. So we have a former student working for EA Sports and is working and has worked on the Madden games. And we also have students that progress into the film industry. And one of the students who has done music tech has also done the media course and ended up working in the film industry, working on big name films. Some of the questions that we get asked frequently, and I think I've answered some of them, but it doesn't hurt to reiterate them again. Music tech is not a performance course. So if you don't play an instrument, don't worry about it. It's not that type of course. If you do play an instrument, that's not going to hurt. So it might be, for example, that in your class, and our classes usually have about 12 to 13 people in your class, it might be that there's a drummer, there's a singer, there's a bass player, and it might be that you don't play an instrument at all. Well, you can draft in that drummer, that bass player, that singer, and get them to help you on the project. Likewise, if you do play an instrument, you might want to sing on someone else's project. But we also bring bands in from outside of college, and that's absolutely fine. We have lots of different rules about doing that, but it's absolutely fine to bring in established bands and record those. So it doesn't matter if you don't play an instrument. Likewise, as I've said, it doesn't matter necessarily if you haven't done GCSE music. A passion for music is what is much, much more important to the course, so that you come onto the course and really you live and breathe music. And by that, I mean you watch music documentaries, you do nothing but listen to Spotify or YouTube, and you're really interested in the nuts and bolts of how all of those different things work. There are two teachers on the course, so Matt is currently actually sat just out of frame at the moment. So Matt also delivers on the course, and he's been delivering music tech now for, I think this is his 3rd year, and the next year will be his 4th year. So you'll encounter either myself or Matt on the course. And what's really good about having 2 course tutors is that you are getting different perspectives all the time. We both like very similar types of music, but also at the same time, we also have very different music tastes as well. And I suppose that's another frequently asked question. In terms of musical taste, it really doesn't matter what you're into. We're not going to force you to make a certain type of music. You choose what type of music that you work on. So if, for example, you want to work with a folk band, go and find a folk band and bring them into the studio. If you want to work with a metal band, go out and do that. If actually you're interested in production of EDM, fine, do that. Not a problem at all. So musical taste and the music that you're into, that's entirely up to you, and we will not try and force you down any specific route. At this point, just need to find out if there's any other questions from the audience, and if there are, I'll try and answer some of them.
Just one. Is there any equipment we need for the course?
Excellent. So that's a great question. So the question was, is there any equipment that we require for the course? Yes and no is the answer to that. I never ever stipulate that students must buy equipment for music tech, and the reason for that is that the equipment for music tech can get exceptionally expensive. The setup behind me is already running into the £20,000 mark. We're talking about a lot of money's worth of equipment. However, the equipment required for music production is getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. The one thing that I would suggest very strongly that people get hold of is a pair of over-the-ear closed-back headphones. So I'll repeat that again, over-the-ear closed-back headphones. So not earbuds. So if you have them, that's fine, you can carry on using them. But in music tech, earbuds do not produce all of the available sound, and they will skew what you're listening to. They will not give you a reliable picture. So I would strongly recommend getting a decent set of closed-back over-the-ear headphones. And then the price range for that is really as much or as little as you want to spend. We have pairs of headphones in the studio here that actually only cost about £12 a pair, but are actually very, very good. So you could go with a pair of them. But if this is something that you think, I actually want a career in this is something that I might want to make that investment in, then you can of course spend more money. Sennheiser are a really good brand that you could go with, but Shure make really good headphones as well. What you want to avoid is anything that influences the sound. So gaming headphones are no good, and nor are headphones like Beats, for example, by Dre, because they change and alter the sound that you use. And then the other thing in terms of equipment that I'd like to point out, if you've got a PC or a Mac, Pro Tools has now introduced a subscription model. So you no longer have to spend £400, £500 buying a Pro Tools license. You can actually rent Pro Tools in the same way that you can rent Netflix. And you can do that on a monthly basis. And what's even better is there's an education discount. So once you start with us here, you'll have your student ID, and therefore you are registered as a student, and you will be eligible for the student discount for Pro Tools on subscription. And I believe the current price for that is about £5 to £6 per month. Now that works out exceptionally well, and that means that you can actually do some of that Pro Tools work at home in your own time, and then further develop your skills. However, and again, I will stress what I said at the beginning, we have all of this equipment in college. It's here for you to use. So we don't make you buy these things. It's only if you feel that this is actually something definitely as a career I want to do, that I would then strongly start advising you to do that. But when this room isn't in use for a lesson, this room is entirely open for our students on music tech to make use of. So you'll find that this room is free for at least half of the week. And that gives you perfect opportunity to come in, access the equipment, and to get on with your college work and to just really develop those skills, because ultimately that's what this session that's what this course is all about: skill development and becoming a really adept at being a producer of music. That's it from me. Thank you very much.